So there's many, many things in England. You could take a whole month, really. I don't think you'd be able to see it all. Every time I go, I try to see something that I haven't seen before. But it was very interesting and beautiful. But also I had work involved. I had to speak at the College of Psychic Studies. Usually when I go over there, I speak at many different organizations. They have me come back again and again every time. I try to alternate now, so I won't go back to the same organizations each time I return to London. I speak at the Theosophical Society, and I did that in May when I was there last year. This is the headquarters in London. And I speak at many other organizations, but I have spoke before at the College of Psychic Studies. This is one where you can get degrees in psychic studies, and it takes quite a while if you're going to take all the courses. But it's one of these big buildings. If you've ever been to London, they have these blocks and blocks of buildings that are all alike, and they used to be manor houses way, way back, to where the whole 3 stories tall building would have been the home of one family and their servants. These are one after the other. They're all attached to each other like row houses. And in most places in London, these have been turned into hotels. So there's hundreds of hotels. But also over in the museum district around the Natural Science Museum and the Space Museum, there's a whole lot of museums are in one area. They have the College of Psychic Studies and the French School, Theosophical Society. All of these are in these big buildings that used to be private homes that have been converted into these places. The College of Psychic Studies has been there since the 1800s. Some of these places were started by people like Sir Conan Doyle. So they go way back to those eras whenever the people were beginning to become interested in psychic phenomena and wanted to have classes and teach these things. So I've spoken at the College of Psychic Studies many times, and that's what I had to do this time. I did 2 days of talks and workshops, and then I went to the yoga center, the yoga training centers in London. They have one there. I work a lot with swamis and their ashrams, especially the Sivananda ashrams. I work with just about every religion there is, and I have found no difference. Everyone is interested in my work and my findings, so I just go anywhere anyone wants me to come. If they ask me to come, I go. And the Sivananda group, I've spoken at their ashrams in the Bahamas and the ones in Grass Valley, California. And also the headquarters of the Sivananda group are up in the mountains outside of Montreal, Canada. I spoke there also. So this time they wanted me to speak at the one in London. So I took some lectures there. They want me to come back and speak at the ashrams in Paris, and they have one in the Alps in Italy, and they have some in Germany. That would be another trip where I will work all of that in and go from one ashram to the next. So it's like I'm never going to run out of places to go and places to speak because it just keeps growing and growing. Everyone wants to know about all these things that are involved in my work. That's the amazing part, my work just keeps growing and spreading, especially with all of the languages now that the books are being translated in. Oh yeah, when I left Moscow, they were already making plans to translate some more of my books. That's part of why they were having the publicity campaign. So I guess I'll be returning there. But on the very last day in London, my friend said, I want to go to a London theater. And she said, my treat, because, and the theater has never really appealed to me, but she said she wanted to do it. And I said, okay. I could have been doing sessions the whole time I was there, which I normally do, private sessions, but I decided let's just have some fun and let's play on this trip. So the last night in London, we went to see the Phantom of the Opera. And she said it was the perfect ending to a perfect trip. And then we left the next day to come back to the States, which would have been enough, being gone 5 weeks. I'm home 2 days, and I had to go to Las Vegas, which was mostly a business trip. But we had to have a little fun there, too, because the people we were meeting there took us to see Barry Manilow, and which my daughter is crazy about, absolutely crazy. So she really wanted to do that. She went with me on that trip. And they have the circuses, what I think they call them the Circus du Soleil, which put our circuses to shame. I mean, I don't want to say to shame. That's not the right word. I mean, they put it to where it is so ordinary. These are circuses like you have never seen in your life. I don't know how the people do the things they can do with their body. We're told probably they start when they're very, very young children. It's the only way they could ever get their muscles to do the things that they do. It's the same way they do in Bali and the India, where they start training the children to do these dances at very young ages when their muscles are very limber. But anyway, we did all of that, and I finally got home. Then last week we had the UFO Conference in Eureka Springs. So I keep thinking I'm going to have time here now to slow down and stay home for a little bit. But last week was the UFO Conference, and I have helped with that for 19 years. It's been put on by Lou Farish. I wanted him to be the guest on the show last week and talk about the history of this conference. But he doesn't really like to do radio shows. So he just said, no, I went ahead and did Wendell Stevens. And those of you who might have heard last week's show, that was a fantastic guest. Very controversial. But then I've been told on this show I can talk about anything I want to talk about, so it was a lot of controversy bringing in government issues. So if you have a chance and haven't heard it, that was the show I did last week. And if you can download that from the archives, I think you'll find it very interesting. But Lou Farish is the one who has been putting on the show for, well, like I said, it's been 19 years that we've all been involved with it. Lou Farish has the UFO news clipping service. He started this, many, many years ago. And it's a mail-out. I think it's got about 20 pages or more in it, where he has the UFO sightings and news from all over the United States. People, they have a news clipping service, and they send him these. And he puts them all together and combines them in this, like a newspaper. It's not like a magazine. It's more like a newspaper. And he is still doing that after all of these years. And he's also combining what he calls Forteana, which is news of the unusual and the strange, also in that same paper. So we have been friends for over 20 years because we got together when I first began doing the UFO research. He was responsible for bringing me into the UFO research. So I've been doing that now for 20 years. And I've spoken at UFO conferences all over the world. And as you probably know, I have 4 books that I wrote about UFOs. In future shows, I'll be talking about all of these things. I've already done now, I think this is 16 shows, and I haven't even begun to touch all of the information that I have in my books. I've just talked about some, and I've had some guests. And we are going to have some more. Starting next week, I'm going to go back to the guests again. But eventually, I'll be bringing up all of my work with the UFOs and with the abductions that I've covered. And in my book, The Custodians, I have covered just about every question anyone could ever want to know dealing with UFOs. And Lou has been 20 years, he's helped me in my investigations. and been there as a confidant when I needed that. And he is the one that started the UFO Conference in Eureka Springs. We had over 400 people at this last one. That's usually the way it runs, about 400, 450. We have faithful people that come back year after year just to see what's going on. But in the future shows, I'll be bringing up the UFO findings and the material that I've had. But before I go off the air tonight, I do want to bring up that I am putting on my first conference. And it was like, I wanted to get the authors that I publish at my company, Ozark Mountain Publishing, I wanted to get them into other conferences where they could lecture. And all of a sudden, it came to me, why don't you put on your own? And I thought, what? But then it was like, well, sure, you can do it. You've been helped with so many, and I've spoken at so many. So we set about the wheels in motion, and we are going to have our first Transformation Conference, is what we call it. The Transformation Conference, and it's going to be held June 3rd and 4th. It's a Saturday and a Sunday, June 3rd and 4th this year. And it'll be held at the Clarion Inn in Fayetteville, Arkansas, which is very close to where I live. And our keynote speaker is going to be the grandson of Mahatma Gandhi, who is Arun Gandhi. I am featuring the authors that we have published, and I published his book. I'm going to have him as a guest sometime in the next few weeks. We will be talking more about this conference. Anyone who is interested in the conference and wants more information, if you call my 800 number, we can give you all the information you need. And also if you want information about my classes or about my book, this is the number to call, or about the conference in June. The number is 1-800-935-0045. 1-800-935-0045. Or you can check out everything out on my website, which is www.ozarkmountain. The name of my company is Ozark Mountain Publishing, but it's abbreviated on the website. It's OZARKMT.com. Ozark Mountain abbreviated. OZARKMT.com. There's a whole page about the conference and about the speakers. So you can get all the information you need about the books, about my classes, about the lectures I'm going to be giving, and about our conference. All right. So I guess that's going to be all for tonight. And I'll start up my guests again next week. And on the Bloggin's website, we're going to start listing the speakers. Some of these are the ones we had to cancel when they were doing their move. So we're going to put them back on again.
You have been listening to BBS Radio, a blogandservice.com production and a service to others endeavor. Thank you very much for tuning in to our radio program, and we wish you much peace and joy on your journey.